Hi, my name is Renaldo Lawrence, and welcome to my e-learning session. As an educator, I believe that our challenge is to create content that makes it easy for our students to learn. I think that it's essential that the content is engaging, interactive, and the materials should help enhance our students' lives. Please, let's understand that COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to learn and develop our skills like I believe no other time in our lifetime. I think if we're smart, it has and can give education a more exciting face. Here is a list of some of my accomplishments, and for good measure, I've included some of my son and daughter. If you're a LinkedIn or lynda.com subscriber, then all the principles I speak about today can be found in my courses. When I'm thinking of creating an e-learning content or course for my students, there are a few questions that I always ask myself before I get started. By asking myself these questions, voicing them aloud, then writing them down, I have gotten the best results for me. I've made a list of these questions and we will make them available to you. Process 1, questions that I ask myself. So the questions and information that I need to know before I start a course are: what is the topic area I need to create content for? Who is the target audience? Does the content require me to create extra content that I can use, or do I can just use the curriculum that the governmental boards have supplied? Usually the answer is always no. Am I going to use audio, video, or images to help me deliver the curriculum? If I use video, I need to make sure that it is under 3 minutes long with a call to action at the end of the video. In terms of accessibility, if I use video, then I would need to use captions. How are the students going to use the content is also a very important question that I ask myself. So they're going to use iPads, iPhones, computers in school. Will there be noise around from other classrooms? So these are questions that I need to ask myself. Am I going to structure the content in a way that is going to be effective for the students? So the way that I structure my content is I give them an overview of the task, step-by-step instructions, a call to actions, and then we summarize exactly what the students need to do. In terms of accessibility, if I use video, then I would need to use captions. When I've answered those questions, I can start preparing the content to help me structure the course. So, process 2, deciding on the software. Now, I know that I'm going to be creating video, and Premiere Pro is my software of choice. I also will be using Adobe Audition just in case I need to make any alterations to the audio. The content will all sit and be housed with Adobe Spark, and that's the software I'm going to use to host the curriculum. Adobe Photoshop is going to help me take care of all the graphical needs that might arise when creating the content. And finally, YouTube is where I will be uploading the content so my students will have access to it. Process 3, curriculum evaluation. To help ensure that my students can access the materials, I need to first evaluate the curriculum and divide the content into manageable chunks, which will make it easier for students to understand. When I'm creating the materials, I often think of my experience in school and try hard not to overload the students and that the instructions are very clear and direct. One important part that I always try to do is have a call to action task at the end of each video. This way, it helps the students understand what task is required for them to complete. Process 4, creating a storyboard and script. These are 2 steps in the creation process which are essentially special for me, being a visual learner. When creating the storyboard, I can add all the visual elements such as name of the audio I'm going to use, a representation of each shot. Also, each action is planned so I know in advance how the video is going to turn out. Planning is key to the whole process for me, and this will be done with good old paper and pencil. Now, in terms of a script, I never knew how valuable writing a script was until I became a LinkedIn lynda.com author. The script is vital in terms of knowing where and what I need to say. The other important thing about having a script is that it tells me what B-roll I will need to use in the video, which will help support the students. Okay, now we're ready to get started, but there's one other essential task that I always do, and it is to create a folder structure that I can also import into Premiere Pro. So process 5, creating a folder structure. In order to stay organized, having the correct folder structure is essential. This is how I organize my folders. I have a main folder, and inside that folder, I have other folders. So I have an image folder, a Photoshop folder, a video folder, an audio folder, and another folder. And the other folder is just what I'll have just in case I have any other miscellaneous items that I need to put in. Whew, that's a lot. So now finally, we're ready to create the content. I will show you a few of the steps that I use to create the content, but please understand that the processes are what I go through always. So step 1 is importing the content into Premiere Pro. Now, the first step in this process is to open up Premiere Pro and import the folder structure. The first step, as I said, is to open up Premiere Pro. I'm going to show you one or two of the steps that I use and things that I do in Premiere, but also other applications. So the first thing that you have when you open up Premiere is you have your 4 windows. You have window 1 is the project panel, which you import content into. Over here, you have your source monitor. Up here, you have your program monitor, and then you have your timeline. So anything that's in the timeline is reflected in the program monitor. Anything in the project panel, if you double click on it, you can see it in the source monitor. So we're going to import our folder structure. And at some point in time, sometimes it doesn't come in, but I'll show you an alternative way. So if I click down here, make sure the window is selected. So if it's blue, it means it's selected. I can hit Command-I on a Mac. If I want to, that will open up the window for me to import content, or I can double click in a blank space. When I do so, I'm just going to come to my desktop and I've got a folder here. And then I've got the folder structure folder. I'm going to go inside that folder and just choose import. And when I do, you notice now that I have my folder structure. For some reason, sometimes it doesn't come in, but that's not a problem. If you select your folder like so, come down to this little icon here, which is the new item icon, and click it once, you have the option then of selecting, say, sequence, project panel, and et cetera, et cetera. So you can create a lot of things here. But also you have this little icon here. If you click there, you can click have a new bin. So I'm just going to call it Photoshop. Click away, going to select that, and you can drag that in there, folder structure. I'm going to select that again, and again, I'm just going to click on that. And then I'm going to, with this selected, if I click the drop down, you got bin here. I'm just going to call it images. And again, I'm going to select it, click it again. And I think we said other. Select it again, and click the bin. And I think the other one was audio. And one final one, I think it was video. So that is the first step when I'm creating a project, is I have my folder structure set up. Obviously, all the audio will go in the audio folder, all the video will go in the video folder, all the images in the image folder, and Photoshop files that I create, I will then have them in the Photoshop folder. Now, one important thing to understand is that if you come up to here, you can actually come file new and actually create a Photoshop file straight from inside of Premiere. Okay, so in the next bit of this tutorial that I'm going to show you is how I've got my sequence and everything already done, and show you how we can add a few more elements. When working with students, or anybody, one of the most important things I think you can do is work toward having accessible content. So in this part of our session, what we're going to do is look at how we can add accessibility features. So I'm going to come down to the bottom here in the project panel, and I'm just going to drag my video inside of the new item icon. When I do so, Premiere will automatically create a sequence. Now, the neat thing about this is you don't have to worry about the size of the sequence of anything. Premiere will create it for you. All I've done here is at the bottom, you have the bar that you can stretch your video out. On the side here, if you come up on the side, and when it turns to a double-headed arrow, if you drag up, you can then see more of your video. So what I've got here simply is a video, and we've got some audio on the back of a recording. So we'll play just a minute of it. One of the amazing things about our planet is our ability to see beauty. And what we want to do is we want to transcribe that. So I'm going to come up to the tabs that I have up here, and these are all called workspaces. I'm going to click on the caption one, and I'm just going to choose transcribe sequence. And when the transcribe sequence dialog box comes up, I'm going to leave it like it is, but you have other options. I'm going to click transcribe. And when I do so, it then goes out and it will then create all the text based on the audio file that I have in there. So we will let this go, and I will come back in a second once it's done. Once Premiere has done its thing, notice on the side here that we have all the text that is within the video. Also, the wonderful thing is that if something has not come out right, you can select the text and you can make your own corrections. If you want to click on the three dots here, you can retranscribe the sequence. You can export the transcript also, or you can even export it to a text file. I'm happy with the way it is right now, so I'm going to click on create captions, and I'm just going to leave this dialog box like it is and click create. And what Premiere will do, which is amazing, is it will put the captions on top of the video here, which is amazing. And then again, as I said, my students don't have to worry about playing audio on the bus or whenever they want to maybe do homework. One of the amazing things about our planet. So that is using captions within Premiere. When I get ready to export the video out, I would just come up to back to my editing workspace, and I would just go File, would come down to Export and Media. And when I come to this, I have the export settings. I can choose to queue it up, or I can export it out by just clicking export. The neat thing here is that you can leave it the way it is in terms of it matches the sequence size or the sequence bandwidth and everything, or you can choose from any other platforms that you may wish to do. And again, just click export and it will export your video out. Sometimes when you want to create graphics, Photoshop is the perfect application to do so. And you can do so right inside of Premiere Pro. If you come up to File, New, and down to Photoshop File, you have the same resolution you have as your video. Click OK. You will need to save it. So if I come here, and if I come out here and I'm just going to save it right here. I'm just going to call it title. And it will immediately take you inside of Photoshop, which is amazing. And the neat thing is that when Photoshop opens, you then have the options of adding whatever you wish to it. I'm going to come over to the text tool and click the T. I'm going to use the horizontal text tool. And up here, I'm going to set my font to regular. I'm going to use Mirrored Pro, and I'm going to set my size as fine. If I click in here, it automatically gives me some text, and I'm just going to type in your life. I'm going to drag my title back here, double click on my title, and I'm going to increase the size of my title. So if I type in here, click here and try 200, and that's perfect. If I come and click and center my text the way I want to. Now what I can also do while I'm here in Photoshop is if I come over and double click on the side of my document, I can come up to stroke. And I can double click on the word stroke once I've selected it. I can add a stroke to my text, and then I can just say OK. And when I've done that, I'm going to center it like that. I'm going to hit Control or Command S, and I'm just going to close Photoshop. Now when I do so, back inside of Premiere, I'm going to marquee select everything that I have here, and I'm just going to drag it over slightly. And then I'm going to take my title PSD file and just drag it up top here like that. And I'm just going to drag it back, then slip it down like that. And then what I've got is I've got that. But I don't like that. I'm going to choose part of the video here. So I'm going to double click on the video, and I'm going to start at the beginning here, and I'm going to hit I for in. Stop it and hit O for out. Just take the video itself. So what we need to do is just drag our image up and drag our video over and stretch it out some. And now what we have is this. When we come in, goes straight to there. But notice we have that little blimp, and that's because you have the little blimp here. So if I right click in here and choose Ripple Delete, it will put everything back the way it should be. And this is what it looks like. One of the amazing things about our... Okay, so this part, we've looked at how to use graphics using Photoshop and Premiere Pro. There is one other way that is very economical in terms of time saving when you want to export your video out. I'm thinking about YouTube, but you can also export it out to Facebook and other platforms. So if you make sure that you got the blue line around the timeline, and if you hold Command and hit M, or File Export, the File Export dialog box will appear. The next thing you need to do, if you come down to the tab here, just make sure that you have named your file and specify the location of your file that you want to use. Now, if you come down here and click on you have a lot of tabs across, but if you click on the Publish tab, if you go down, you will see that you have a selection of platforms that you can actually export out to. Now you will need to know your username and password for each. So I have here YouTube. So if I select YouTube and click the drop down menu, you can sign in. So I'm already signed in. So you can add a title here. Once you add a title, you can add a description. You can make it private or choose however you want it. If you add some tags to it, and then you can add a custom thumbnail, and then you can delete the local file after. So again, if you wanted to export your file to any of the social media platforms from right inside of Premiere, it is easily done. Now it's time to put everything together. We've uploaded our video to YouTube using one of the two methods that we mentioned before. And now it is time to create our website that all the content is going to go on. So the first thing you need to do is you need to have yourself an Adobe Spark account. Once you've done so, you come into Spark, and with Spark, you have all kind of items that you can create. But the one that we want a web page. Now remember, the idea is to keep everything as simple as possible so students can have access to all the content on any device. So here, what I've done is I have created a document which will help me to put in the content as I go along. So instead of me trying to guess what I need to put in, I have already got it in a Word document. We're going to complete the first section. So I need my title. So I'm going to double click on my title here. And inside of Spark, notice that it gives you instructions. So I'm just going to click here and paste my title there. For the second one, I'm going to go back. I'm going to start working with Adobe Photoshop. So I'm going to copy that back here, click there and paste. Now, the important thing to understand about using Spark is that it is extremely easy to use. But also, it is always, as with everything else, a very good idea to plan out what you're going to have before you actually start creating your content. So I'm going to come to the plus sign here, and I need to add a photo as my background. So I'm going to find a free photo, but you could upload a photo if you have one. So I'm going to find a free photo. And here I'm just going to type in desk and press enter. And I am going to select this image right here, and that image automatically appears. So just within a few steps, you can see how you can create some engaging content. But also, you can actually teach your students to create content based around all your subject areas that you're going to teach during the course of the year by having an effective website. So the next thing we need to do, if I go back to my document here, is we need to add in introductory text. So I'm going to copy this. Come back to Spark, and down here you have a selection of items that you can use. So the one that we want right now is we want to use text. So I'm just going to, again, paste in the text. And if you want to, if you click inside the text, you have a bar that you can set the size of your fonts. You can add any other items. You can make things bold. You can add links, etc., etc. So the second part that we need to go here is I'm going to select the second part here. But before I do so, I'm going to make sure that this is correct. Copy this. And then back in here, I'm going to click on the plus sign again and text and paste that in. So yes, so far, we've just added some text and we have added a title with a subtitle. Now, if I come back down here, the next thing I want to do is I want to add a split layout. So if I click split layout, now I have the options of having content on both sides here. And you can always switch the sides if you want to. So with the split layout, if you wanted to go to one side, you can change the size if you want to, just by clicking the side arrow. And then what happens is that the image side will go to a different side. So I'm going to put in the image here. Now I have an image that I've already created that I want to use. So I'm going to upload a photo. I'm going to come to here and I'm going to choose this photo here. So again, you can add your own content in. And what Spark will do is it will refresh the image to make sure that you're the best looking quality image. So yes, so far we've got, again, title, subtitle, introductory text, and we've just put in an image. So we go back to our guiding document here. Now this is the split section. So we want the words introductory video, so the students will know exactly what we're talking about. So on the right side here, I'm going to click on the plus sign and use text and paste that in. Now what I want to do is I need to copy the address that I have from here. So if I come back to here, let me just edit this. Okay. Now remember that you need to copy the URL. So it's also might be a good idea in your Word document or whatever document you're using is to put in the address, the YouTube address for the video. So now what I want to do is add a video. So if I click video and I'm just going to paste in that and choose save, and voila, our video is there. Now there's no way that I know that you can resize the video. So the video is fine. So we'll look at that in a moment. But if I go back to my Word document here, I got where the video goes here. And then I've got some information here that I want the students to read. So I click the plus sign here again, text, paste that in. And now I have a call to action that I want them to complete. So if I select this information here, the questions that I want them to answer, and copy it, come back to here, text, paste that in. And what I love about Spark is that it will separate the questions for me so the kids don't have to worry about getting things bunched up or missing out a question. So one more piece of text. So if I come back down here and select this 2 bits of text here and copy it, and if I paste that in, by having text in there, paste that in, and there you go. So that is our first section. Now, what I've also done is I've completed 2 sections here just to give you, and I wanted to just to give you an idea that you would follow the same procedure for the second section. Now, one of the really neat things about this, about using Spark, is this. Once you've created everything, you can preview it or you can even present it. So we just have a quick preview. And this is what the site will look like here. If we click the video goes into full screen. Each one of us on this planet is... And to close it, you just come up to the top right and close it down like so. If you go down again, you have all of your content. And what I love is how it glides down. But what I also love is that down here, it gives credit to individuals or credit by where the actual images come from. So you can teach the kids copyright also. So now if you want to start editing, you just click the X here and then you're back. So now that we're happy with everything and we want to share it. So one of the easiest ways of sharing is coming up top here. If you click the drop down menu here, you have a selection of things. So you can invite other people to work on it with you. You can send it to Google Drive. You can print it. But I want to publish and share a link. Now, when I do, I'm not going to switch brands in this case, but it will ask you if you have more than one account. So I'm just going to continue with our brand. And then what happens is it gets its stuff done. And notice down here that you have the photo credits. Also, notice down here that you have something that says get noticed. So your project might be featured on the Spark page. You can select a category up here. So I'm going to select education, and that's going to be my title. If you want to change the title, you can. You can have the author turned on so you'll know exactly, or someone else will know exactly who's publishing it. And then what you can do is create link. Now, when you create a link, what happens is all you need to do is just share that link with anybody else. And what then will happen is that the content from that link will be viewable by anybody else. So if you would come up and choose copy, you can then share that link on whatever platform that you want. So I'm not going to publish this at the moment, so I'm going to just have it and publish it later when I get back to lessons. First of all, can I thank you very much for attending my session. During the session, we talked about the importance of being effective and the importance of planning, and making sure that everything that you plan on doing in terms of creating your content has been thought out. It's essential that you write everything down, you storyboard, and you script everything. We've talked about the time that we have now during COVID-19 and trying to make sure that you use your time as valuable as possible. We've also covered my courses at lynda.com. And if you ever feel the need to learn anything else or learn other items that we've spoken about today, you go to my lynda.com courses. We've spoken about the different processes and the things that you go through when you're creating a course. Everything from asking questions like who's my target audience and what is my project about. These questions will help you be more effective when you're trying to create your e-learning course. We then talked about the type of software that we're going to use and what software will be most effective when we are developing and creating our content. We also talked about chunking all of the content down into digestible pieces so the kids can understand. And the important thing here is trying to make sure that we always have a call to action so students understand exactly what you want them to do. Again, we spoke about the script and storyboard. We talked about creating a folder structure. We then jumped into Premiere Pro and we imported the file structure. But we also did was we looked at creating a folder structure inside of Premiere Pro. The other thing that we did was we talked about accessibility, and the way that we covered accessibility and to make sure that we were doing the right thing is we added captions to our video. We then went and used Photoshop, which we got to from inside of Premiere Pro, and we talked about the exporting settings the settings you need to export out your video from inside of Premiere Pro, but also from inside of YouTube. We also looked at working inside of Adobe Spark, where we created our content, we housed all of our content, we added text, and we talked about having a Word document or Google Doc or whatever it is with all of your content already pre-planned, so when you get ready to create your site, it's very easy to create. And then we talked about publishing your site. And the last thing I want to say to you is good luck in all your e-learning endeavors, and may kids or parents or students or whoever you're creating content for be able to learn from your content. Again, I thank you.